Welcome to VW 5.4. We're going to first review a couple things we talked about in class. So I want you to have these three boxes like this, and then we're going to fill them in right now. So first box, we're going to review vertex form. This is the most useful form of a quadratic. Y equals a, x minus h squared plus k, where your vertex is h comma k. And again, it's very useful because you can easily graph it and you can see the vertex right there. The next one is standard form. And this is the most common form of a parabola. On any standardized test like the SAT, they'll be using standard form most of the time. And standard form is really good for the quadratic formula, and it leads really nicely into the vertex formula. So the thing you got to remember, negative b over 2a, that is the x coordinate of the vertex. That's why I wrote v with a little x right there. So that reminds you it's the x coordinate of your vertex. And hopefully you recall from our notes from last class, it's negative b over 2a because it's the average of the roots. Where you might remember from Vieta's formulas, the sum of the roots, that's negative b over a. So a quick crash course on everything we've been talking about. Let's go to our first example. Determine the function or the quadratic function whose vertex is 1, negative 5, and whose y-intercept is negative 3. Here's a nice picture right here. So whenever you have a question like this, I'll put a note here, you're going to want to start with vertex form. And the reason for that is because they give you the vertex. So let's plug it in. Y is equal to a, x minus h squared plus k. There's a vertex form. We're going to plug in the vertex. So y equals a, x minus 1 squared minus 5. And now plug in this point they gave you, negative 3, because we know that point is, again, it's right here. That's 0, negative 3. So negative 3 should equal a times negative 1 squared minus 5. We can solve that. I can see that a must be 2. Therefore, we got it. Y is equal to 2 x minus 1 squared minus 5. And there's your equation in vertex form. So notice how it's pretty easy. But what if I wanted standard form? If you want standard form, all you got to do is take your vertex form and multiply it out. So y is equal to 2 x squared minus 2x plus 1 minus 5. That'd be 2x squared minus 4x plus 2 minus 5. Y is equal to 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. And right there is your standard form. So make sure you're comfortable with either form. So that's the first example. Let's go to our next one. Consider the function right there. Determine without graphing whether it has a minimum or a maximum. So to do this, let's really talk about it. Notice how this is standard form. So it's not vertex form, but standard form is still useful in a lot of ways. If you're working with standard form right here, if a is greater than 0, like that, what we know is the parabola should be looking upwards like this. And I can see there, if you look right there, it has a minimum value. Now, if A were negative, then it would look like this. And I can see it would have a max value. So for our problem here, I can see that if I look at this -3, A is less than 0. Therefore, f of x has a maximum. And that's it for that question. Pretty straightforward. Now B, it says find the min or max value. Always highlight this. If it's ever asking to find the value, what that really means is find the vertex. Like, you're going to have to find the vertex in some form. So to do this, it's in standard form. So we're going to use our vertex formula. Our v sub x is negative b over 2a. So let's figure it out. Opposite b, that'd be -6 over 2. A is -3. That would be +1. So there's our x coordinate. But you have the whole vertex, so you got to plug it in. So f of 1, plug in 1 there. That's -3 plus 6 minus 13. F of 1 is going to be -10. So we did all that work. So therefore, our vertex should be the point 1, -10. So that's what you got to find. Now from there, we can answer the question. It says find the min or max value. And the min or max value is always going to be the y value. So if you ever see this notation here, like min, max, what that really refers to is, again, the y value. Now remember, we said earlier that this has a maximum. So we're going to use that -10. And I'm going to write the max value is -10, and it happens at x equals 1. And there's our complete answer. Now we have the last part, C. So identify the domain and range. So for this, so A says without graphing, but for this one, if you ever got to figure out the domain and range and you have all this information like this, sketching a graph is going to be easier to think about. So we're not going to make an accurate graph, we're just going to do a rough sketch. So the vertex is 1, -10, so I know that would be right about here, and it's opening down. So there's our graph. I can see my domain is everything. And I can see the range would be -∞ to -10 bracket. And that would be our complete answer. And that's it.